If you have a straight ramp, which is leading up to the Great Pyramid, if it's going to carry blocks right up to what will be the top of the Great Pyramid, no gang of workers can haul a 20-ton block.
What if one of the greatest wonders on Earth is hiding a secret we've completely misunderstood? For thousands of years, historians have believed the Great Pyramid of Giza was built for the pharaoh Kufu by ancient Egyptian workers. But researcher Graham Hancock believes the real story may be far more mysterious. After studying ancient clues and unusual engineering details, Hancock says, the evidence suggests the pyramid might have been created by a much older and highly advanced civilization, one that existed long before the timeline we're taught in history books. So if you love uncovering hidden history, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more incredible mysteries. The man who questioned the official story. Most historians follow the rules of traditional academia. But Graham Hancock chose a very different path. Hancock was once a journalist for The Economist, writing about global events and politics. But in the early 1990s, his curiosity pulled him in another direction. Instead of reporting daily news, he began exploring one of the biggest mysteries of all, our forgotten past. His questions were simple but powerful. What if human civilization is much older than historians believe? What if important chapters of our history were lost over time, buried beneath layers of sand, water, and ruined cities? To search for answers, Hancock traveled across the world. He studied the ancient pyramids in Egypt, explored mysterious ruins in Indonesia, and examined underwater structures near Japan. Along the way, he spoke with experts in geology, astronomy, ancient languages, and mythology, trying to connect clues that many researchers had never placed side by side. Not everyone agrees with his ideas. Some scholars strongly criticize his work and say his theories go too far. But millions of readers and viewers see something different. They see someone willing to ask difficult questions about the past. Hancock doesn't claim to know every answer. Instead, he points out that some parts of history still don't fully add up. And for him, one mystery stands above all others: the incredible and puzzling Great Pyramid of Giza. The Kufu mystery, a monument without a clear signature. The Great Pyramid of Giza is one of the most famous structures on Earth. For thousands of years, it has stood on the Giza Plateau, towering over the desert like a giant stone puzzle. According to the official explanation, it was built around 2500 BCE for the Egyptian pharaoh Kufu, also known as Cheops. History books say that more than 2 million limestone blocks were carefully placed together by skilled workers using copper tools, wooden sleds, and massive manpower. The project supposedly took around 20 years to complete. This version of the story has been repeated in schools and museums for generations, but when researchers actually look inside the pyramid, something unusual appears. Silence. Most royal tombs in ancient Egypt are filled with hieroglyphs, carvings, and religious texts that praise the king and guide him into the afterlife. Walls normally display the ruler's name, prayers to the gods, and scenes of royal power. Yet inside the Great Pyramid, there is none of that. The chambers are almost completely bare, made of enormous blocks of stone with no decoration at all. Even the granite box inside the king's chamber raises questions. It is plain, undecorated, and empty. No mummy has ever been found there. No burial objects, no royal treasures, and no clear proof that Kufu was ever placed inside it. The only link between Kufu and the pyramid comes from a few painted quarry marks discovered in 1837 by explorer Howard Weiss in hidden chambers above the king's chamber. Some researchers believe these marks prove Khufu's connection while others argue the evidence is weak and controversial. Because of this, some thinkers, like Graham Hancock, suggest a bold possibility, that Kufu may not have built the pyramid at all, but instead discovered or reused a structure that was already ancient when his dynasty ruled. Engineering that still puzzles the modern world. When people look closely at the Great Pyramid of Giza, they often realize something surprising. This wasn't just a huge pile of stones stacked together. It was built with a level of precision that still challenges engineers today. Start with its alignment. The pyramid points almost perfectly toward true north. The margin of error is only about 0.05 degrees. Today we use satellites and advanced instruments to measure directions that accurately. Yet this monument was built more than 4,500 years ago. How ancient builders achieved that accuracy with simple tools remains a mystery. Then there is the foundation. The pyramid's base spreads across about 13 acres, yet the entire surface is almost perfectly level. The difference from one side to another is less than an inch. Even with modern laser technology, creating such a perfectly flat base over such a large area would be extremely difficult. The stones themselves make the puzzle even deeper. Many of the blocks fit together so tightly that you can barely slide a thin blade between them. Some pieces are shaped in ways that lock together and spread the weight evenly. This shows careful planning and highly skilled stonework. According to the traditional explanation, workers used copper chisels and simple pounding stones to shape the blocks. But copper is relatively soft, especially when cutting extremely hard granite. Modern experiments trying to recreate this process have shown how slow and difficult it would be. Inside the pyramid, structures like the Grand Gallery and the King's Chamber reveal elegant geometry and carefully measured proportions. Because of details like these, researchers such as Graham Hancock argue that the pyramid shows signs of advanced engineering rather than basic construction. Another mystery is that later pyramids in Egypt never reached the same level of precision. Many of them eventually crumbled into rough ruins. This raises an uncomfortable question. If ancient builders once created something so perfect, why did the knowledge seem to disappear afterward? And that leads to the next mystery. Even if the pyramid's design was brilliant, another challenge remains: how were millions of massive stones moved and placed in the first place? The 80-ton mystery, moving stones that shouldn't move, building the Great Pyramid of Giza with such incredible precision, is already hard to explain. But when you look at how the stones were transported, the mystery becomes even bigger. Most of the pyramid is made from limestone, but the inner king's chamber is different. Its walls and ceiling are built from massive blocks of granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. Some of these blocks weigh up to 80 tons. That's roughly the weight of a large train engine. What makes this even more surprising is where the granite came from. The stone was quarried near Aswan, which lies more than 500 miles south of the pyramid site in Egypt. This means the builders had to move these enormous blocks hundreds of miles along the Nile and then transport them inland before lifting them high into the structure itself. The common explanation is the ramp theory. According to this idea, workers built huge ramps so they could drag the stones upward as the pyramid grew taller. But many engineers say this creates another problem. To reach the pyramid's upper levels, the ramp would have needed to be extremely long and massive, possibly containing more material than the pyramid itself. Yet no clear remains of such a giant ramp have ever been discovered. Other ideas suggest hidden internal ramps or complex lifting systems, but solid archaeological proof is still missing. Experiments using reconstructed ancient tools have shown that moving stones of this size would have been extremely slow and exhausting. Because of these challenges, researchers like Graham Hancock argue that the builders may have used techniques we no longer understand. Whether it involved lost engineering methods or forgotten knowledge, the way these stones were moved remains one of the greatest puzzles in ancient history. And that leads to an even deeper question. If the pyramid wasn't built exactly when historians think, then when was it actually created, and who truly built it? The Sphinx and the mystery of water. To understand the true age of the pyramids, Graham Hancock points to another famous monument standing nearby, the Great Sphinx of Giza. According to traditional history, this massive statue was carved around 2500 BCE during the rule of Pharaoh Khafre. But some researchers believe the monument could be far older. The Sphinx sits quietly on the Giza Plateau, carved directly from a huge piece of limestone. With the body of a lion and the face of a human, it appears to watch over the desert like an ancient guardian. For centuries, archaeologists believed the cracks and erosion on its surface were caused by wind and sand slowly wearing away the stone. However, in the early 1990s, geologist Robert M. Schoch studied the monument from a different perspective. Instead of focusing on its cultural meaning, he examined the rock itself. What he noticed was surprising. The erosion patterns on the Sphinx show deep vertical grooves and rounded surfaces, features that, according to him, are typically formed by long periods of heavy rainfall. That idea creates a problem for the traditional timeline. The region around Egypt has been mostly dry for thousands of years. Scientists believe the last time the area experienced strong, frequent rainfall was near the end of the last ice age, more than 10,000 years ago. If the erosion really was caused by rain, it could mean the Sphinx was originally carved much earlier than historians believe. This possibility fascinated Hancock. He suggested that the monument might come from a forgotten period of advanced human activity long before the rise of ancient Egyptian civilization. Some scholars strongly disagree with this interpretation, but the debate continues. If the Sphinx truly belongs to a much older era, it raises a huge question. Could the monuments of the Great Pyramid of Giza complex also be connected to a far more ancient chapter of human history? The theory of the lost builders. After studying ancient monuments for decades, Graham Hancock reached a conclusion that challenges the traditional story of history. He suggests that the Great Pyramid of Giza may not have been built by the pharaohs of dynastic Egypt at all. Instead, Hancock believes the pyramid could be a legacy from a much older and highly advanced civilization that existed long before recorded history. According to his theory, this forgotten culture may have thrived during the last ice age, but around 12,800 years ago, a major global disaster, possibly linked to the climate shift known as the Younger Dryas, may have destroyed much of their world. Hancock argues that the survivors of that civilization carried pieces of their knowledge to different parts of the planet. Over time, these fragments of wisdom may have influenced many ancient cultures. When he looked at monuments across the globe, he noticed patterns that he believes are more than coincidence. Structures such as the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, the massive temple complex of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and the pyramid fields of Meroe pyramids in Sudan all show intriguing similarities in layout, geometry, and alignment with the sky. Hancock believes these monuments may share echoes of the same ancient knowledge, ideas about astronomy, geometry, and the movement of the heavens. In his view, the builders of places like Giza understood complex patterns in the sky long before modern science rediscovered them. Many historians strongly disagree with this interpretation and consider it speculative. Yet the questions Hancock raises continue to fascinate millions of people around the world. If even a small part of this idea were true, it would mean human history is far older and more mysterious than we once believed, and that the true story of the pyramids may still be waiting to be uncovered. The mystery that still remains hidden. For Graham Hancock, the biggest frustration isn't just the unanswered questions about the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's the feeling that some discoveries around the pyramid are never fully explored. One moment that often comes up happened in 1993. A German engineer named Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a small robotic vehicle called Unexplored 2 into one of the narrow shafts deep inside the pyramid. As the robot traveled through the tight passage, it eventually reached something surprising: a small sealed stone door with metal fittings, hidden in a place no human had ever entered before. The discovery sparked huge excitement. People expected further exploration to begin right away, but instead, the investigation slowed down and the project eventually stopped. Control of the research shifted to Egyptian authorities, including antiquities official Zahi Hawass, and the mystery of that hidden door was left unresolved for many years. Then, another surprising discovery appeared in 2017. Using advanced scanning technology called muon imaging, scientists studied the interior of the pyramid without damaging it. Their results revealed a massive empty space above the Grand Gallery, a hidden chamber large enough to be one of the biggest unknown spaces inside the pyramid. These discoveries raised even more questions about what might still be hidden within the structure. Hancock believes these mysteries deserve deeper investigation because they could change the way we understand ancient history. Many historians disagree with his interpretation and say there is no deliberate secrecy involved. Still, the unanswered questions continue to capture people's imagination. For Hancock, the pyramids may not simply be ancient tombs. They could be messages from the distant past, monuments built with knowledge we are only beginning to understand. What do you think about this mystery? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.